Welcome to Val's Sweet Kitchen. My caramel cake has caramel syrup baked right in. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees and let's go have some fun. The caramel syrup is exactly what we're going to start with. And this is the hardest part of the whole cake. So you take a half a cup of sugar and heat it until it caramelizes and starts to turn brown around the edges. And then add a third of a cup. Woo! Add a third of a cup of hot water and stir it until all the lumps are thoroughly dissolved. You'll have some lumps in there. There you go. And then set this aside to cool while we make the rest of the cake. You take 3/4 of a cup of softened room temperature butter. That's butter that's pliable. You can put your finger in it, but it doesn't melt. And we're going to cream that until it's nice and fluffy. Should look nice and creamy like this. To this, add 1 1/4 cup of sugar and cream those together and scrape it down periodically. I just like to make sure everything is thoroughly mixing because things will hide right here at the bottom of the bowl. And then add 3 eggs, one at a time. You're going to add an egg, beat it in, add another, beat it in, and set this aside. And let's do our dry ingredients. That's 3 cups of cake flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. And I use Morton kosher salt. And sift that all together. Sifting's going to get out all the lumps and make for a nice crumb. There we go. See? Get those little guys. Just help them on in there. Then add 1/2 cup of oil to 2/3 cup of whole milk. You're going to alternate in your dry ingredients and milk, starting with the dry and ending with the dry. And I like to pulse it, that way it doesn't fly all over the kitchen. And then we got the last bit, and then the last of the dry. And this is where we add in all the flavoring. A teaspoon of vanilla extract and the delicious caramel syrup. And it's at room temperature now, so it's nice and thick. 3 tablespoons. So then to prepare your pans, I spray them, baking spray with flour, and put parchments on the bottom. I use baking strips. It's strips of fabric that I've been soaking in cold water. And what that does is it slows down the baking process so that I get flat tops every time. And we're just going to pour it in and divide it evenly. Look at that rich caramel. This is such a special cake. I love it. It'll self-level a little bit in the oven, but I just help it. And then bake for 35 to 40 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. And while the cakes are cooling, let's get started on this wonderful caramel frosting. You won't believe how it's made. You take 2 cups of brown sugar, 1 cup of regular sugar, and then 1 cup of sour cream, or 240 grams. This comes together rather quickly, so heat it on low heat just until it comes up to 238 degrees Fahrenheit. And you'll want to have your butter, 2 tablespoons, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Have them mise en place, as the French say. Okay, and then take it off the heat and put in the butter. Stir that in along with your vanilla extract. And then you want to let it cool to 110 degrees, and then you can whisk it to cool it the rest of the way down to room temperature. And I'm going to speed things up with an ice bath. Just let it sit in that for a few moments and it'll come right on down. This is also why I'm using my stainless steel bowl, because it doesn't conduct heat as much as the glass mixing bowl. And this is going to make the whole process go faster. Add a couple of tablespoons of cream to loosen it up and scrape down the sides so you get it thoroughly incorporated, and add 2 more tablespoons of cream. That'll loosen everything up. 65. 65. All right. And then we just add in 1 chunk of butter at a time. Just a couple of tablespoons is pretty good. And whip it right on in. This is how you make Swiss meringue buttercream too. And the last one, you can see it turns a lighter color. That's the air in the butter. There you go. That is beautiful caramel frosting with a little tang at the end. If you want it a little bit looser, go ahead and just add 1 more tablespoon of the cream. And this is how I spread frosting on a cake when I'm not piping it. This is the easiest way for me to get it all even. So you're going to just spread some around the top, a little bit extra to come over the sides, and then you just do the same with the top. And then I like to give it some nice swirls around the sides, around the top, just to make it look fancy. Look at that caramel syrup swirled right into the cake. And before I devour this whole thing, if you had fun today, leave a comment and like it and subscribe to my channel. Boop that bell so you'll be notified when I make my next video.